Welcome to USVibe. Today we are breaking down one of the most talked about financial stories involving a sitting member of the United States Congress, Representative Ilhan Omar, and her reported net worth. In recent years, questions about her financial disclosures have made headlines across political media platforms. But how much of it is accurate? What do the official records actually say? And what does this mean in the broader context of transparency and ethics in American politics? Let's dive in. Ilhan Abdullahi Omar is an American politician who has served as the U.S. Representative for Minnesota's 5th Congressional District since 2019. Born in Mogadishu, Somalia, Omar and her family fled civil war and eventually settled in the United States, where she became a citizen in 2000. She is a member of the Democratic Party and one of the first Muslim women elected to the U.S. Congress. Omar first gained national attention for her progressive stances on issues such as healthcare reform, immigration policy, student debt forgiveness, and economic inequality. But more recently, public scrutiny has shifted toward her financial disclosures and reported net worth. Members of Congress are required by federal law to file annual financial disclosure reports. These filings list a representative's assets, liabilities, income sources, and certain investments, but typically in value ranges rather than exact figures. Because of these broad ranges, reported net worth estimates often represent a high-level approximation rather than a precise dollar amount. For many lawmakers, years of investment income, stock holdings, or real estate translate into multi-million-dollar portfolios. Historically, a notable share of members of Congress are millionaires or near-millionaires due to long careers, investment income, or inherited wealth. According to Omar's most recent financial disclosure, filed in May 2025 for the 2024 tax year, the combined household net worth reported for Ilhan Omar and her husband, Tim Minot, ranges between approximately $6 million and $30 million. This dramatic range stands in stark contrast to Omar's earlier filings. In 2019, when she was first elected to Congress, her financial statement reflected a negative net worth, meaning liabilities exceeded assets, largely due to student loans and other debts. The reported shift from negative net worth in 2019 to multi-million-dollar wealth by 2025 represents a significant increase in documented household assets. The key explanation in the filings is that the reported wealth derives mostly from the estimated value of two private businesses associated with her husband Tim Minot. According to the disclosures, Rose Lake Capital LLC, a venture capital management firm based in Washington, D.C., was valued between $5 million and $25 million. EST Crew LLC, a California-based winery, was valued between $1 million and $5 million. These value ranges are not precise figures, but broad estimates required by the House disclosure forms. Members must list the total estimated value of partnerships or businesses, not specifically the exact share they personally own. According to some reporting, Minot's individual ownership stake in these businesses may be less than the total estimated value of the firms themselves. Importantly, when these business value ranges are separated from Omar's individual assets and liabilities, her personal net worth could logically fall anywhere between significantly negative figures and only several tens of thousands of dollars, far lower than the headline figures often cited in partisan media. Ilhan Omar has publicly disputed claims that she is a millionaire. In early 2025, she took to social media to call such assertions ridiculous and categorically false, emphasizing that her congressional salary, approximately $174,000 per year before taxes, remains modest. She does not own stocks, and she continues to pay off student loan debt. In the same statements, she characterized some media narratives about her wealth as part of coordinated disinformation efforts intended to mislead the public and political opponents. Political commentators across the media spectrum have seized on Omar's financial disclosure. Conservative outlets have repeatedly highlighted the high end of the reported net worth range, suggesting that she and her husband are worth tens of millions of dollars, as much as $30 million or more, despite her ongoing denials. These stories often emphasize how unusual the surge in reported household wealth appears given her documented financial position just a few years earlier. Some critics have even alleged ethical concerns or potential conflicts of interest pointing to the linkage between congressional service and private business success in a broader political context. Republican legislators and commentators have called for further investigation into the sudden increase. On the other hand, independent fact-checking organizations have emphasized that congressional disclosures' wide value ranges make precise net worth calculation nearly impossible, and that equating the upper end of the range with precise personal wealth is misleading. The valuation of privately held companies, especially those with multiple partners, is inherently imprecise and subject to wide interpretation. Financial disclosure experts point out that the way wealth is reported in Congress is often misunderstood by the general public. Because members list asset values in ranges, aggregate household net worth estimates can span tens of millions of dollars, even though the actual net position of the individual may be far lower. In Omar's case, a separate analysis noted that when valuations are parsed correctly, focusing only on actual ownership stakes and excluding inflated total business valuations, her net worth could be far lower than the headlines imply, potentially well under $200,000 when considering personal assets and liabilities alone. The scrutiny of Ilhan Omar's net worth is not just about dollar figures. It speaks to broader questions of transparency, public trust, and ethics in Congress. Voters expect lawmakers to be forthcoming about their financial interests. Disclosures are meant to reveal potential conflicts of interest, but when reported in broad ranges, they can sometimes generate confusion or misinterpretation. For many Americans, the idea that a member of Congress once reported negative net worth and now appears to be worth millions raises questions about how wealth can accumulate rapidly in political circles, especially when linked to private business ventures. Others argue that the public discourse around such figures is often driven by partisan motivations rather than objective analysis. As of early 2026, there has been no official charge or legal finding of financial impropriety against Ilhan Omar. Some Republicans have indicated interest in further examining the disclosures, but any formal investigation into wrongdoing has not been publicly corroborated by government authorities. Accusations linking Omar's finances to unrelated local fraud cases in Minnesota have likewise lacked substantiated evidence in official records. At the same time, media outlets continue to debate the discrepancy between Omar's public denials of wealth and the reported ranges in her 2024 disclosure. Public interest remains high, especially as financial transparency continues to be a hot-button issue in American politics. So what can we conclude about Ilhan Omar's net worth? Based on the most credible, publicly available information, official financial disclosures list Omar's household net worth with wide ranges, spanning from $6 million to $30 million, largely because of valuations tied to her husband's businesses. When isolating Omar's individual assets and liabilities, estimates suggest she may not be a multimillionaire in her own right, and as previously stated, she is still carrying debt. Broad media coverage has amplified both sides of the debate, from claims of tens of millions in wealth to fact-check rebuttals about how disclosure ranges work. In the end, the story of Ilhan Omar's net worth illustrates how financial transparency works in U.S. politics, how disclosure ranges can be misinterpreted, and why context matters when reporting on public figures' finances. Thanks for watching USVibe. If you found this breakdown helpful, like and subscribe for more factual content on trending U.S. topics.